like a lot of the people you run into in the space, right? Like a libertarian kind of uh, a lot of libertarians, I would say. Or so
Yeah.
it's funny. Like we laugh about libertarians a lot around here. You know, it's like I'm sure it's just it's quite funny. But how little or how uh like just the lack of thinking through that position, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
uh, so there's a couple of things that you said then that like I absolutely just loved. But so the smart contracts thing, the way that I kind of think that that's really kind of I don't know if relevant, like a really good way to think about a good way of understanding that. Like David, if you read David Graeber's Debt, like
Yes.
you've read the book, yeah. So that whole relationship that money is just a contract of debt between people and that sort of idea, and it sort of expands on that, like you were saying, like with Ethereum, it's sort of allowing way more possibilities with what we can do with it.
Yeah,
So
through programmability, yeah, which is
yeah,
like
through programming, yeah.
it's good. It can be good or bad, right? So,
Yeah.
are you
It's what you
programming it
make
for
it,
something
right?
really
Yeah.
shitty?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And so we're at really like this like critical junction, I think, where either the left sits on its ass and like just sort of lets it, develop
Mm-hmm.
how it wants. It's going to develop in like without the left, it's going to develop for the interests of capital,
Yes, totally.
because there needs to be like some sort of
Pushback.
like pushback,
Yeah,
some sort of interjection. Like we have to be involved.
yeah,
If you want to make any change in the world, I'm sorry, but you have to be involved in places where it's not going to be always like ideologically
yeah.
exactly the way you think. But what is really interesting that you mentioned debt actually is that I mean, first, like people think that they treat the cryptocurrency space as like some sort of thing with agency or with some sort of like coherent ideological framework. But like I have to say that cannot be like further from the truth. Like even though it seems like, oh, it's filled with libertarians,
Yeah.
like libertarians are very like they also have similar problems as the left, where they do not agree on like half of the shit that they talk about anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like and there are varying, and not everyone is a libertarian, I have to say. Like plenty of people who just either don't know much about politics, don't care about politics, who are still maybe more like if pushed a little bit would probably say they're on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of
I mean,
space
let there
for the
be
left
1,000
to come in
Muslims
and like
working
make
for us
a pretty
officers.
big influence if it was like organized and wanted to do it. But like a lot of people in the crypto space have read Debt, like a
Okay.
lot of people, and a lot of people
Fascinating.
recommend the debts to each other in the crypto space, even though like this is supposed to be some sort of like libertarian anarcho-capitalist like hell world. Like
Yeah.
if you dig a little bit deeper, like you'll be surprised by quite a few things. Like Vitalik Buterin, who is the founder of Ethereum.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for sure a fact he's read Debt, and he's like
Yeah.
he paid homage to David Graeber whenever he passed away.
Yeah.
So like a lot of them have been
This is so
exposed to
funny.
particular anti-capitalist ideas.
I actually think I've had this secret theory that Vitalik's a communist for a while. He said a few things now that I'm just like, nah, he's just not, he would not say it because it would just be detrimental to the image, right? Like that's just, he said a few things now that have really like made me think. That's so funny that you've said that.
I've been taking notes as we go, and I'm glad that we've come back around to this, because I had something I was going to bring up earlier that then we like moved past. We've come back around, and I was just sort of thinking like it's a little bit like, are you sort of familiar with Slavoj Žižek at all?
Yeah, of course.
So when he talks about the kind of like, I mean, he's always talking about ideology, right? But like when you sort of project an ideology onto a thing, So like, say for example, with like, I'm doing a great job of explaining it. It was like guns, for example. Because a lot of right-wing oriented people are involved in gun culture and things like that, then therefore all people involved in gun culture are right-wing.
Yeah.
Where in the reality that's not the case, but that's like a projection of ideology onto like a thing because people of that ideology tend to exist in that space. And I feel like it's a similar kind of thing here. And like I just keep on thinking of Socialist Rifle Association or Redneck Revolt, like all of those like leftist gun clubs in the States, which are getting involved and doing like counter recruitment and creating like actively leftist spaces within that sort of gun culture and gun community. Again, like this is my example, and I'm just kind of running with it.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be a useful thing as well in the blockchain space too, because like obviously, like at the moment, there's this perception, particularly among a lot of the left, that blockchain is like all libertarians and like anarcho-capitalists and stuff like that. So therefore, blockchain is a libertarian anarcho-capitalist idea or a thing for them, whereas that's like that projection of that ideology onto blockchain through association with the people involved with it. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, absolutely, indeed. I
Am I
think
just making on?
what is like particularly peculiar about cryptocurrency, and especially like something like Bitcoin, is that they're empty digital objects. Like if you break it down to like its most simple, like primitive, it's just an empty digital object that's being tracked on a ledger. So this is like particularly the case with Bitcoin, that Bitcoin has been fetishized basically into a particular ideological framework, because I think the technical decisions behind it sort of fit very well with a particular ideological framework that is particular, like that really likes, like hard money. So thinking of money as a commodity, a very limited commodity like gold. So a lot of people who are really interested in a lot of gold bugs, I think they're called, are really interested in Bitcoin because it simulates the similar properties of what people think of as like when money used to be like backed by gold, and that tends to be people who are further to the right. For the most part, that's just sort of how it's happened. So like I think Bitcoin in particular, you see like massive amounts of fetishization of Bitcoin as being like the solver of our problems, and that it'll destroy governments and it'll bring about the perfect form of capitalism at some point. But I mean, it's like maybe they're right. I doubt it. I'm really doubtful that Bitcoin is going to be what does it. But at the very least, I think there is some truth to say that Bitcoin is it creates like cracks within the system.
Definitely.
And it creates spaces that can be exploited, even by the left. So I mean.